So today I want to tell you a story about my husband and how his heart stopped beating and he wasn't alive for 2 minutes and what happened during and afterwards. Back in 2005, it was March in Washington and it was a really warm day, super sunny, which if you're a Washingtonian, you know that the sun really doesn't like to come out till July. My husband and his two friends were all very young, about 18 years old, and they were practicing for a huge race that was going to happen that weekend. This happened to be a Wednesday afternoon. Probably should have been in school, but instead they took out their dirt bikes, found some old logging roads, and were ready to ride, getting ready for Washougal, Washington, which would be a pro race. My husband was very accomplished in his youth, spending most of his childhood in a dojo learning Taekwondo. By this time, he had already won 3 gold medals in the Junior Olympics for Taekwondo, but his biggest dream was to be a motocross racer. He wanted to be pro, so every day he was on that bike. Every day he was trying to get the opportunity to go pro, and this was no different. So him and his friends were in Allen, Washington, and they found some old logging roads to ride on. Those old logging roads had some railroads, and they had been riding for quite a while. Josh started riding his bike down some railroad tracks. He was going about 80 miles an hour when he hit a huge concrete steel blockade. He was instantly ejected from his bike, flying about 120 feet in the air. And when he hit the ground, he started rolling and rolling. He was taught in Taekwondo that when you're hurt, you roll to try to avoid as many injuries. His doctors later would say that his rolling through the accident was what saved his life. By the time the momentum stopped from rolling, he was literally frozen on the train tracks, unable to move. His arm was all the way up. Both of them were pretty much detached. His shoulders were detached from his body. His friends ran down the hill and called 911. Luckily, there was an ambulance literally having lunch in town in Allen, Washington, small little town. There's no hospital there. So the fact that they were there was just amazing. The ambulance got there as soon as they could, put him on a stretcher. The last thing that Josh remembers was hearing the air vac, which is an emergency helicopter, hearing them get approval for morphine. So the ambulance drove to an open field, dropped him off on a helicopter, and as soon as the morphine was in his body, he was out. The last thing he remembers is the look of the roof of the helicopter. When he was put out with the morphine, he said that he knew he was dead. He knew that he was somewhere else. It was just dark. There was no light. There was a tunnel, but there was no light, and all he could hear was his brother Nathan's voice saying, "Breathe, Josh, breathe, breathe, Josh, breathe." The nurses and doctors say that he was dead for 2 minutes, and they have no idea why or how he was able to start breathing again. Weird part of the story is that his brother wasn't in the hospital, wasn't in the state, was actually in California praying for him. Josh was lucky to be alive, but he had a long road ahead of him. Both collarbones were broken. He shattered both of his shoulder blades. The doctors compared his shoulder blades to throwing a ceramic plate on the floor. There were so many breaks, it was physically impossible to fix. His wing bones were broken, 8 broken ribs, some of them broken more than once. His right and left shoulders were broken and separated from his body. Left bicep, left forearm, left elbow had multiple breaks. His lung collapsed twice. 7 surgeries, 5 on his left arm and 1 on each collarbone. 4 plates, 50 screws here were placed in his body to hold him together. They told him that he would never have use of his arms and would be fully handicapped and spend at least 6 months in the hospital. Well, you don't know my husband, but he's a very strong, driven individual. He doesn't like to be told that he can't do something. 13 days after he arrived in the hospital, he walked out unassisted. It took him a year to heal enough to start working on his bike again, and 2 years to actually ride. It's been 20 years since his accident, and he has accomplished so much. But I guess the moral of the story is just don't quit, never give up. I tell him the reason why he didn't see the light is because God saved him for me. Now, one thing that he did say in the hospital was, "I have a really long road, but at least it's paved."